Here.
Magers.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Fast.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Peterson will be giving our prayer this morning.
I
apologize. You're going to have to give me 30 seconds to get my tongue thawed out. So, Father, we just thank you and praise you for so many things. Father, there's certain things that we can look at so bad, but Father God, there's always so many good things. And Father, today we just pray for the blessings of the good things. We thank you, Lord God, for wisdom to understand what to do and how to do. And Father, we just thank you as a team, as this city becomes a team working together. And Father, we just thank you there's going to be great and wonderful things take place. And I give you the praise and the glory and the honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Next item, please.
Item 4A, a presentation by the Kansas Forestry Service.
Good morning, Council. Steve Beer, Fire Chief, City of Hutchinson. Today I'm privileged to have a couple of great partners that we have in our line of work to basically preface a ongoing issue that we have in the City of Hutchinson, and more of a discussion that we'll have down the road when we talk about possibly changing burden ordinances and stuff like that in the city. But that's down the road here. But I wanted to give you the facts and the data to show you that the risks that your fire department takes on a daily basis and what we have going on in the city here. And the Kansas Forestry Service actually works out of my office. They have Rodney works actually there with us. And so we get the latest information on a daily basis. And it's a great partnership we have. But they came out with a new program this year, and I wanted them to talk about how it impacts the city of Hutchinson, and so that down the road you can make an informed decision going forward here. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Dennis.
All right, thank you. Like I said, Dennis Carlson, Assistant Fire Management Officer with Kansas Forest Service. I primarily deal with fuels and mitigation across the entire state, and then also work with local fire departments on training, and then also training landowners. And I just wanted to put that together, just kind of a little presentation, because we do work with Hutch Fire Department a lot. Chief Beer has been a really great partner. He's also been on the Governor's Wildland Task Force and coming up with those recommendations and all those. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview. I'm not going to make this a huge PowerPoint, so I'm going to give you quite a few slides, just some visual type stuff that we're looking at. Like I said a little bit earlier, we came up with the Kansas Wildfire Risk Assessment Portal. This is something that homeowners can use, and also fire managers can use. It's split up into homeowner site and a fire management site, and it'd be like for emergency managers and planning and those type of things. So a lot of this is pretty easy, so homeowners can jump on here, get down to their site specific, and I'll show that here in a bit. But what a lot of this came into, and the development of it, was taking about 34 different layers of geospatial data and getting it down to where our risks are. And a lot of the risks depend on, of course, your fuels, and the big one is fire starts. Because when we got through this, and I'll show you this here, so the final product came out to the wildfire risk, and some people in western Kansas say, well, why is there such little wildfire out there? They have the fuels, they have a lot of it, but they get down starts. That's the big key in here. So if you look in here, can we pick out the sand hills pretty easy, and Hutch? So we got a lot of issues that we start seeing in here. That just kind of shows all the layers that go within that. That's what the big one comes into, wildfire occurrences. If you look in Reno County, significant amount of them. And this is wildfires, this isn't structure fires, this is just wildfires. So you can see significant amount. And this was from 2010 to 2019. That's another thing we're trying to update, especially with a lot of our fire districts. As we get further west, we're getting better reporting out in those areas. So the portal, like I said earlier, homeowners can use the basic side. Of course, the advanced, you have to create an account. The advanced, what that allows you to do is create an area of interest and get you very site specific and do a lot of planning. And just kind of, I zoomed here into Hutchinson. As you can tell, I was called the Sandhill Sock. just kind of sits north of here. And also you start seeing a lot of other issues around parts of Hutchinson. And if you start looking exactly where those are, some of those places would be like, you know, your more open area, grassed areas, but a lot of that's been mitigated with, you know, grass, you know, mowing and those type of things to reduce that. But as we look at some of these areas, kind of more on the outside of Hutchinson, you know, whether or not a lot of that has been mowed, or trying to do some mitigation activities within there. Typically what we look at, wildfires are always going to come in from the south, southwest, and up to the northwest. That's typically where we always see all our wildfires. So we see, you know, even the city of Hutch, we have areas around there. Part of what I'm looking at, zoomed in a little bit further, give you an idea. Now, if a homeowner, say back where that dot is, that's about where they live, they can zoom in there, look at that, and then it gives them a lot of information, how to firewise, and those type of things. And that's one key that we're really trying to hone in on, is being firewise, even around your homes. And one problem we run into is people say, well, I live in the interior. I live a quarter mile from the, quote, wildland. Well, anybody guess where that is?
Colorado.
It's Colorado. What was the primary cause of this fire? Grassland. So it's grassland, then it got into a home. I think there was like 80-mile-an-hour winds that day. Then it went home to home to home to home. There's just not enough engines or anything in those cases, so the whole neighborhood ended up burning down in this case. And it actually started from a grass fire. So those are some issues we really start running into, is once we get multiple homes, if one catches, then you have the issue of multiples. So we talk a little bit about, you know, this is usually what we see, the wildland, then we get into suburban, and then we run into, you know, that intra-urban conflagration that we talk about. And it's, you know, one of the big things we're always looking at is ember shower. That's what causes a lot of this. The embers created from the large fire outside of that, throwing embers back into the city and the homes. Now, you know, within the city, there are wildfires. You know, somebody's in the backyard or whatever. If it's a really high fire danger day, chances of that taking off is considered. Now, what was Wichita? When was that?
2006.
2006. They had just a backyard fire and ended up burning how many homes?
I think it's 3 homes in
3
one
homes.
block.
Yep. So it was on a high fire danger day. But ember shower, that's always our big one we're really concerned about. And just give a historical when we start looking at 2016 to 2022, those are all the fires in the sandhills around Hutchinson. I think I calculated the sandhill sock being around 160,000 acres, and it's around 40,000 acres have burned within the last, since 2016. So it's a significant number of fires. Probably getting a little bit more, you know, once you get into wooey firefighting. I'll let Rodney talk a little bit about, you know, some of the concerns and problems we have run into in these things.
So, couple of things specific to this slide. I'm sure everybody here remembers the Highlands fire that occurred, and when we get into wildland urban interface, some of the challenges that we face, right, is that fire departments do a very good job on a day-to-day basis, and they've done such a good job historically that people call 911, the fire department shows up, takes care of their problem. The problem and the challenge with, for example, the Highlands fire is that the city of Hutch doesn't have 600 fire trucks to sit one at every house, and so that's the challenge. The other challenge that they face, obviously, is extreme fire behavior and the risk that the firefighters are taking to protect houses. There was a lot of decisions that were made specific on this particular day to try to divert the fire out of the city of Hutch, right? And so you always try to prioritize and kind of pick your battle where you can actually have have a chance of making a stand on something like this. And obviously the values at risk are that, but when you get into the urban interface like this, you have competing values, right? Like whose house is more important, the one on this side of the street or the one on this side of the street? And those are the big challenges specific to the Highlands fire, even the Cottonwood complex just a couple of years ago. And the other thing that I was going to mention, and I might get into the next slide a little bit, is partnerships. So, you know, I've been here before and we've talked about Tanker 95 being based out at the Hutchinson Airport and all that. It's been another great partnership that we've had from the Forest Service with the city. And the Sandhills area and the urban interface getting into the city of Hutch, quite honestly, is part of the reason that we chose Hutchinson to be, what did we call it? Tanker Base Alpha, I think is what Peter named it when he named it. But that was a big reason, was specific to this general area and the risk associated with it. I could go into a whole lot of stuff about wildland urban interface firefighting, but it's extremely challenging. And when we go to other states, and you know, California is pretty popular with the amount of urban interface that they have. To be totally blunt about it, it's not that much different in California than it is with the challenges that are faced on the north side of Hutch, with some of the potential that can happen. I was thinking about this a little bit the other day and thought, you know, the wind kind of came out of the northwest, but what if it would have been just a little more north component to it? How much would that have changed? Mm-hmm. You know, and so like if you kind of think about, I know a lot of people don't think that we were real lucky on something like that, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, considering that if, you know, the wind was here, but if it would have went here, how drastic of a change that could have been.
Thanks. Yeah, you know, note that those kind of days, you know, I think the humidity was at 8%. You know, when we start looking at even the 4-county fire, you know, 8% humidity, 80-mile-an-hour winds, and then you start even thinking, what if a fire did start in Hutch, in a backyard? What's going to happen? You know, so we start looking at a lot of those type of things. Some of the other partnerships, certainly we're working on a community-wide fire protection plan. We've been working on joint chiefs, and a lot of these grants are very difficult in Kansas because a lot of it have to butt up against U.S. Forest Service land. The other problems we run into is the matching, because you got private landowners and trying to find those matches and those type of things. One other partner we do work a lot with is Kansas State University Mesonet, and a lot of this, they're developing the fire danger forecast. It can go out within 7 days out. It helps a lot with fire managers, people planning, even prescribed burning. But it also can help create that consistent messaging, because too much of the time on our newscasts, you start hearing words like catastrophic, and people are like, what does all this mean? Trying to get it all tied down to, you know, this is what extreme means. It means, you know, a certain amount of, you know, humidity, winds, those type of things. So certainly, you know, Hutch Fire has been a great partner, been doing a lot of stuff. Also, you know, looking at, you know, like Kane's been out looking at different homes, assessing those type of things. I've been out and looked at some of those. So, you know, it's a great working partnership that we have here. It's just, you know, as we start looking at, you know, in the future, tying a lot of this together and creating a much more reduced risk environment for the citizens. Okay. I just want to go through that real quick. Okay.
The city of Hutchinson has many challenges. All you got to do is drive around the city. And I was looking at the data this morning here. There's over 6,000 acres of city proper that's in very high risk areas. Think about the Orchard Park. I live right up in that corner. if Orchard Park starts on fire, which I'm surprised it hasn't yet with the Frisbee Golf, and I see all the cigarette butts when I'm out there walking. There's no fire breaks, that type of stuff, and the homes that butt right up to the tall grass there. You take a 40, 50 mile an hour day, and that's just one little example. My biggest fear as fire chief here is a fire with a north wind coming out of the state park. Jumping into 30, jumping over 43rd Street and getting into the Spyglass, Prairie Dune subdivision up that way. Them are some real risks that we're working on. One of the slides that they showed you, and I'll talk briefly on it here, is one of the potential grants. We're looking to work with, I lost his name. Dusty. Yeah, and he wrote the grant for it, but we're looking at like a 3-year grant that would basically take 43rd Street, 30th Street, 17th Street from the city proper all the way out to Bueller Haven Road and make a 200-foot fire break along them roads and working with homeowners if possible. And so I think the grant was for almost $1 million, 900-some thousand dollars on that grant. And so, you know, them are the things that we continue to push. We try to do some mitigation burns annually in some key areas that we know fire repeats itself. The history shows it. I have the maps of all the big fires. And so when we're burning off 30th Street or we're burning off Plum Street, there's a reason why we're burning in the areas here, to protect the city, number one, from fire, and it gives us something to burn off of, basically. Instead of a road that's 30 feet wide, now I got 80 feet to work with. And it gives my firefighters a fighting chance to save some of these homes. The biggest thing we challenge, and I know Dennis was very involved, and Rodney was up in the Spyglass subdivisions. We did, I think, 5 educational campaigns up there on Saturdays, and worked with homeowners up that way here in the past. And it just, you have some homeowners that are all in, and you have the other ones that are not. And so when you have one person that, we're not asking everybody to cut down every tree on their property. That's not what we're asking. We're asking you to, you know, maybe keep this one, but take this one down over here. If you give us 100 feet around your house, preventable space, and I think there was a picture of a home on there, and that's what we always push out to the community, is we have a fighting chance. We can save property. We can push fire around homes in some pretty nasty situations. But when people have cedar trees and vegetation 10 feet away from their home, there's not a lot that we can do. And I actually do have a map in my office that I will not share to the public, but where we did basically street assessments of properties and pretty much listed them red, yellow, and green. The red ones, there's nothing we're going to do to save them homes in these conditions. There's nothing we're going to do. We need homeowners' help to do that type of stuff. And so, again, I just wanted to prep you a little bit of some of the stuff that we go on. We'll get into more of the data. I know, Mike, we were talking about it this morning about, you know, we're looking at what the county did a little bit about changing their burn ordinance. We're not that site specific. I just want to, before you get all the phone calls and stuff, Chief Beer does not want to take away recreational fires, chimeneas, backyard burns, and you know, sitting around the campfire in your yard. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people that just burn in their backyard. We had one last week, got into a fence in town here, started the fence on fire. That's the type of stuff that we see, and we're going to give you all the data on all that information so you guys can really take a look at that down the road here. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody here.
Yeah, I was going to ask about community engagement. So what can we do? Do you have ideas on some things that we can do to help get more people involved, and hey, what can I do with my house, my property to improve?
Yeah, at any time, please call the fire marshal's office here. We offer that every time we have a fire. Basically, even it's disappointing even after the Cottonwood Complex fire. You know, we lost 36 homes, 92 outbuildings, 100 some vehicles, and we lost a life. The educational session that we had after the fact, I think there was 20 people that showed up. And that was the same thing after the Highlands. And now you don't hear nothing about it. Nobody wants to touch it, wants to do the work, and stuff like that. We see it more out on the perimeter of Hutch, where people are buying. Because it's a planning thing, a zoning issue for the county. I think it's maybe 5 acres you have to buy to have a property. And so you have people that want to move out to the rural area. They want to have their chickens, have their horses and stuff like that, and have these little farmettes, but they don't have the tractor and the machinery to maintain that 10 acres, 15 acres, or whatever they have. And then it gets overgrown real fast. And if you look at the map of Hutch and the surrounding areas 20 years ago and overlay it right now, you won't even recognize it, because 20 years ago it was all pretty much pasture land, maintained pasture land for grazing and stuff like that. And now it's become recreational, hobby farms and stuff like that. And so it's pretty amazing when you take a look. And them are the facts that that we got to live by. And I will preface that without our perimeter stations, Station 6 and 7 and stuff like that, it's all about response time. 90% of the fires we respond on, I think we were on 150 some brush fires last year. I think that might have been just in the city that we responded to. You never hear about them. We contain them to less than 5 acres. They never make the news. Only the big ones make the news here. And so it's all about getting on scene within 3-4 minutes, containing it, throwing a lot of equipment at it, and personnel to mitigate that issue. Without that, these fires are going to run and run and run in these conditions. So,
You know, if I remember right, the Cottonwood Complex fire was in the middle of winter, and wasn't the Highlands fire like in February? Because most people think July, it's hot outside and it's dry, but a lot of this stuff happens in the winter. And it's hard to imagine that it's hard to look outside and think about a fire right
both
now.
of them were actually in March.
Okay.
But, yep. And you're right. Yeah, there's no such thing as 4th of July last year. I think 4th of July, I was personally in the city. I think I was personally on about 6 different brush fires that we ran to during 4th of July that weekend, on actually the 4th of July night. So it's a year-round thing for us. There's certain times when we have more moisture in that. We talk about it now with all the moisture we're going to get and what's predicted here. The lower base of the fields will be all wet. Pretty much we'll get our trucks stuck. But all the nice dry vegetation on top of that is going to burn real good. And so we're just trying to find solutions to the problems. And I think one of the things is we need to have that discussion is on our existing burn ordinance. And when you look at the data, it paints a picture. And like I said, I want to make sure we have that all collected. We do for the last 2 years. I want to wait till we had 2 years of solid data to give to you guys. So again, I'm all about letting you guys make informed decisions. And when you look at it, we only have basically, 8 to 10, Mike? 8 to 10 people that regularly request a burn permit from us. That's it. And so I think we had 54 last year? 59 requests for burn permits in the city last year. And only 8 or 10 of them are what we call our regulars. And so we're dealing with just a handful of people that consistently use that resource. But it creates some issues, and it can create some bigger issues here if we don't address the underlying issues.
Do you have some suggestions on getting people to voluntarily comply with trying to get that 100-foot ring around their home? Because what you said is so true. In my line of work, I do talk to people about that, and there are some that don't want to even talk about it, and there's some that are like, yeah, we could do that. You know, we see the value in that. So I don't know how you get those ones to get educated, I guess, and like you said, not feel threatened that you're going to take every tree out. Or
yeah, that's not, we just want to educate the people. And again, at any time they can call our office. We'll come right to their house, and we will, either Jerry or Mike or one of our companies will walk around with the homeowner and give them recommendations of exactly what they can do. They have to take that first initial step. The biggest thing what we see when we put the task force together after the Cottonwood Complex, I was part of that for Reno County. There was an experts from, you guys sat on it too, Kansas Forestry Service, emergency management, the sheriff's department. There was all different entities involved after that to give recommendations to the county commissioners on what we could do better down the road here. And really what it comes down to, I think the biggest lesson we learned is that everybody wants everything for free. And they're looking for, we've been trying to write every possible grant that's out there available to help offset some of these costs to our individual citizens and stuff like that. But still, as a homeowner, it takes money to cut down these trees and haul them away and that type of stuff. So we continue to fight that battle with homeowners to try to find some, I'd love to have chipper days, what I call them. And that's one of the things that we talk about. is where we come into a section of town and we set up a chipper. Third party comes in and you haul the brush to the edge of the street, and we'll chip it and haul it away to the dump for you. We're looking at grants like that type of stuff to be more proactive on different things. But whenever a grant opportunity comes, the first thing we're talking together on everything, meeting, how can we get that here to Hutch? And we continue to work. And some of the battles which Dennis brought up is that a lot of these grants are based on federal lands, and we have all state lands that border us here. And so a lot of the federal grants are going to some of these bigger places that are bordered by the federal grants. I know city manager and I met with some key people in town too and tried to push it more at the legislative level and have buy-in. And so we're pushing it from every possible angle we can to see if we can get dollars to come into Hutchinson to support our citizens and help clean up some of these areas.
Can you share with us, and you don't have to have it right now, but can you share with us what the cost of a chipper day would be so that way perhaps we could consider building it into the budget in the future?
Remember what that is?
You don't have to have it off the top of your head, but if that's something that you could share with us so that we could think about if there's a way to incorporate that.
We have that figured out. I just
Sure.
don't. We're looking
Yeah.
at each other here.
I figured if you wrote a grant for it, you probably have
we
those
do have that
firm
figured out
numbers
exactly,
somewhere.
but we get that to you. What it costs.
Because I think that there are some programs that make sense for the city to fund, a chipper day, as you're calling it, if that's going to save potentially drastic, a good number of homes in the community, which again then protects our tax base. And I think when you talk about giving people education and how to get people to buy in, we don't have a code right now that says you can't have a tree within X feet of your home or how dense your property is within the city limits. And I think that it's important for people to understand that just because they contact you and get the information that there is no enforcement mechanism, at least not right now, and there never has been, to say you now have to go and cut down all of these trees because we've pointed them out to you. It's a good idea to do so, but no one's going to make you do it.
I think a great example is that in our ordinance too, where I came from, we don't even have, even with fire pits or chimneys and stuff like that in people's yards, we have no clearance feet for any of these type of things. Typically you'll see if you're going to have a fire pit in your yard and cook hot dogs or roast marshmallows, you want to be 25 feet from any combustible, from your house, from a wood pile, from whatever, a fence. And that's where we run into some of the issues. People are burning and the fence is right there, and pretty soon the leaves start on fire and then the fence is on fire. These are some of the things that we see. And so we're just looking at hey, we don't want to take that stuff away, but let's put make it 25 feet from any combustible that you have. And it'll help us in the bigger picture of things. So you'll be surprised when we do have these catastrophic days, when the wind's 40, 50, 60 miles an hour here in Hutch, how many calls we get in the city yet where people lit something on fire in their backyard. It's staggering to see that type of mentality out there. You would think it would be common sense, but we know where sometimes common sense is, and or the lack of common sense.
Can you explain to me what a fire break is? Is that a ditch, or what is that?
A fire break is basically an area that will either burn out, and I'll use the road as an example. I'm sure you've driven down Plum Street after we burned out up there, or 30th Street. We're just trying to make a fire break where the vegetation, it can't go any further than that. Where the fire could burn up to it. It gives us a spot to burn off of if we start back burning and stuff like that. We're on these windy days when it's burning 40 to 60 mile an hour winds. That's one of our biggest things that we have in our arsenal nowadays, is basically being proactive. And what I call it basically like a catcher behind playing baseball. We're going to drive that fire right into that catcher's mitt, and that catcher's mitt we're going to burn the fire, and so it's got a big black area where it's going to run into and basically try to burn itself out. And so all of our equipment now, you'll see two what we call drip torches. It's basically diesel and gasoline with fuel mixture, and the first thing we do, you'll see guys running out of the trucks, running down ditches, lighting fire. We're fighting fire with fire is really what it comes down to. And so it's just another tool in our arsenal if we have some predetermined breaks.
Do you have any of those community meetings planned for this coming year to create more community awareness, I guess?
Not right now, we don't. We usually wait till the weather gets nicer for the weekends here. Usually we did them like in May on Saturdays in the past. And so I would imagine coming up here we'll have some more with the state and different entities again and continue to push that throughout the community.
We usually try to do some of those in October too, when it's time to clean up, you know. I know we'll have one at Dillon Nature Center out in October. I already got one scheduled there.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Unless there's any more questions, I think a good takeaway is kind of what Stacy said. You're not going to make somebody take out a tree if they call and just want to know, hey, how's my property look? I think that's important to note so that people aren't scared to get you guys involved and just have an assessment. That doesn't mean you have to do anything.
And if they don't, I think it's on our website. I believe it is our homeowner's risk assessment. They can actually print off a copy and actually do their own risk assessment of your own property. So just log on the fire site on the City of Hutchinson's website. There's a one-page document, and you can actually score your individual residence on what your property is, whether it's a low risk, moderate risk, or a very high risk.
Well, thanks again for what you guys presented. Appreciate it. Next item.
Item 4B, oral communications from the audience.
If you're here and would like to speak to the council, please limit your remarks to 5 minutes. Come to the podium, state your name, give your address, and we're here to listen. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning. Denise Gilliland with Hutch Recreation Commission. I am here to invite City Council and City staff to our annual meetings for Hutchinson Healthy Neighborhood Initiative. Those will take place on Saturday, January 27th and Saturday, February 3rd, starting at 9 a.m. for Southwest Bricktown and going through 1 p.m. for Farmington Park on the 27th, and Saturday, February 3rd, we will have Creekside, Grace Arbor, and a meet and greet for College Grove and Midtown at Hutchinson Public Library. You all should have received an email with the details this morning in your City Council email inboxes, as well as Mary Grace, and then also key staff members with the city will be invited also. So if you have any questions, let me know.
All right, thanks, Denise. Anyone else have anything to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just come to the podium and state your name. This is the time for you, Charles.
Well, my name is Carl Smith.
Carl.
And I've been a citizen of Hutchinson most of my life, except for when I was in the military and stuff. And my bigger complaint, and you guys can see it, the roads, lousy job removing the snow in this town. No effort made. They cleaned a few highways away, and we're very, very lucky that we didn't get 3 to 5 more inches on the stuff we got now. I only live a half a block from the city yards, and to me, no effort, not really no main effort to clean some of these side roads. I've seen a few vehicle, fire department had to park on a corner, try to get down to someone's house for medical emergencies or whatever. Nobody have plowed any of them or made any effort. And you guys can see it. Go down 8th Street when it was really bad, and it still probably is. I got a 4-wheel truck, it ain't bother me, but I'm speaking for the other citizens in Reno County. I know we don't get big snowstorms very often, but that's unexcusable the way that we let the city get away with removing the snow. I know a little bit. You can take a truck, even 6-8 miles an hour. You just figure out what they can clean in 8 hours in one truck. There's no side roads hardly cleaned in this town. Whereas their main artery. That's inexcusable for emergency and stuff like that. And I did think that they need to put a little more effort. I know you got a budget to run things on, but when things like that involve a citizen tearing their vehicles up, you know, and trying to go down roads, something needs to be done. I believe so. That's what I'm stating. I don't have to tell you guys, you drove the roads. You see what they are. I'm just saying, are you satisfied with that? I'm not.
Well, Carl, we're constantly trying to improve what we do as a city. I won't sit here and make excuses, but I'm going to sit here and explain to you that we are 14 people down in the street department right now. We have 6 snow trucks. They were working for over 48 hours straight around the clock. We had a rain event beforehand. We had 9 inches of snow, or 8 inches of snow on top of that, and then we had wind, and then we had this kind of temperature. So I can tell you, I was in the snow business for about 15 years. I do very little of it now in my business because of this very reason. It's very difficult at times to get the snow done in a timely fashion. I hear you. I understand.
I'll listen to your explanation, but to me, they did not put much of an effort.
I can tell you that every 12 hours there was a debriefing. What can we do better? What did we do right? And we will continue to try to do the best we can with what we have to work with.
Yeah, well, I'm not very happy with it, and that's just me. And there's a lot of other citizens. I mean, we had a little bit of temperature warmed up for a day or two. Mm-hmm. Nobody scraped anything like that. I mean, nobody made any effort to clean some of the side roads and stuff like that.
Well, the goal is to have the main arteries clear. The goal, we don't clean side roads. The idea is for you not to have to go more than 4 blocks to a main artery.
So we don't want to clean side roads. So people have a medical emergency, that's fine. Don't want to clean side roads where ambulance can get to it, or a fire truck. You know, we're just lucky, I'm telling you. We're lucky we didn't get that 3 to 5 inches of snow forecast with all the hard freezing and stuff. And people tearing their vehicle all up. I got a truck, it's that high, but they're cars that tear their front grill up. I mean, if they make an effort to get out, I'm not saying the first day. I didn't even see that effort made that much the first day. I didn't even see where they sprayed. I didn't even see where they went to intersections and done any salting or spraying and stuff. I'm right there. I'm only a half a block from the city office.
Well, I'll tell you, I was driving around all week.
What?
I'm right here.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my voice is coming from somewhere else.
Well, my hearing is bad.
You're good.
From military.
Hey, I was driving around all week. I was paying attention to intersections. I'm going down 5th Street. I'm going down Monroe, going down Adams, going down 8th Street all week. I was seeing salt put out. I was seeing things getting scraped up. The day where it was melting, the big concentration, a lot of the concentration was getting snow that was all built up in the middle of the roads, because that was going to create a concrete barricade with the ice, or the wind, or the cold coming in. The other reason we don't want to do side streets, a lot of the equipment's too big for some of these side streets with cars parked on both sides of the road. And if people are going to have a hard time getting out with 5 or 6 inches of snow, it's going to be a lot worse with a big windrow right next to their car when that snow plow comes through before we get this hard freeze.
Well,
Every
I
snow event's going to be different with different scenarios. But what we are doing is we're paying attention and looking at everything that happened during this event on what can be done before this happens again down the road. You know, how many people do we have? We have a cold hard snap. What equipment's working good? Is everything fueled up? Does everything have additives in it like it's supposed to? All the different strategic stuff that goes along with making sure everything's ready to go. And where did we fail? What can we do better next time? That's all we can do right now,
Yeah. Well,
is see where we lacked and what we can improve on in the future.
That's why I'm here.
Well,
want
and
you guys to look
I don't
and-
want to take away from the people that were working 12-hour shifts in the cold, because it was damn cold. It was damn cold.
Understand. I've been there.
Right.
I retired from Cargill salt. I know a little bit about salt and brine and stuff like that. I didn't even see you guys, the city spray hardly any brine.
We didn't put any brine out before because it was raining for how many hours before it actually started snowing. That created a big issue with these events. That's why we have a lot of hard packed ice underneath the snow that's on the ground, because we couldn't put salt down and just wash off.
Well, there's a lot of main arteries, nothing got done for a few days. And I know you only got so many trucks. I see that.
And I've lived in other places of the country too, where you don't budget for that once every 5-year event. You budget for what's the average.
I know that.
And so we're not prepared like they are up north for snow like this every week.
Oh, I realize that. I spent a lot of years in Hutchinson, and I've seen big snowstorms, and I see the average 2-3 inches most of the time. But when we get, it don't matter. When we get a snow like we had, it don't matter. I know you guys don't want to pay all that overtime out. Now, I know a worker ain't used to doing that.
Well, we're not going to park 8 snow trucks that sit 9 months out of the year either. We need to have enough equipment to handle what we normally get.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, all the towns and counties around here were, for lack of a better term, buried with what was going on too.
Yeah, well, I'm still saying they should have been done a lot better, even some of the main arteries.
You're not the only person that was upset with how things worked out. I promise you
I know,
that.
and I'm just, well, there's a lot of people I have coffee with, and they ain't gonna come up and say anything. But that's why I'm saying that.
And there's always room for improvement.
And, oh yeah, and that's why I just want you guys to kind of maybe look at a different storm that comes in. Maybe there's a different way. And I know we only got so much money to operate with on your budget.
Well, quite frankly, there's some conditions we don't want people working. We got to wait till we can actually make a difference.
Yeah.
I had someone call out to me that said they were surprised to see people working at 1 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning because they went to go pick up their daughter from the hospital from working their shift, and they were clearing the roads out by the hospital.
I know about working all that.
But I mean,
know
on
a
the
lot
night where it
about
was coming
working
down.
overtime. I used to work 16 hours a day.
I'm not
the
talking about
salt
the
plant.
overtime. I mean, in the storm, trying to get the roads cleared by the hospital.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
always room for improvement.
Okay. I just want to bring it to you guys' attention.
Thank you.
And I know you guys been down the road, every one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that don't need a little more attention on the bigger snow, you know, I know you only got so much work, but okay, I appreciate you listening to me and stuff like that.
Thanks for coming, Carl.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience would like to speak? All right, next item, please.
Item 5, consent agenda.
Any of my fellow council members have anything about that or a motion?
I've read it. I don't have any questions.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
I second that.
Richardson,
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Magers,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 6A, consider ordinance authorizing replacement of the 16th and Baker Bridge.
Good morning, Council. Angela Richard, Director of Finance. At a prior meeting, you had awarded the bid for 16th and Baker Bridge replacement to Claver Construction. This project was budgeted in the 2023 budget to be bonded for $1.2 million. So today, I am before you because the IRS requires that if we are going to bond a project, before we can spend money on this project, we need to authorize the bonding with an ordinance or resolution. So we have before you an ordinance authorizing the replacement of 16th and Baker Bridge and issuing general obligation bonds for this project. The total project costs are projected to be $1.128 million. This includes both the bid awarded to Claver Construction, engineering costs, and other related expenses, including a contingency. Bonded costs for this are anticipated to be $1.155 million. So that is what the ordinance includes. Are there any questions related to this? If not, I would recommend approving the ordinance as provided.
All right, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance of the general obligation bonds of the city of Hutchinson, Kansas to pay the cost of certain improvements, all pursuant to the charter ordinance number 50 of the city, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Richardson,
Yes.
Garza,
Yes.
Meggers,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
Fast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item 8, report of city officials.
Scott?
Yep, I'll begin. So I know we have room to improve on our snow, getting that taken care of, but I want to commend all of our city staff for going into a brutal snowstorm and then turning into a severe cold storm. And they've just done an outstanding job for what I've been out in the storm the entire time, and I've seen them out working in the stuff, and it's just miserable. And I just want to commend all of them for all the hard work and all the good job they did while they were out in the storm. And then we had Martin Luther King Day Jr. Day. We had that work day that we were going to. We were all going to get to do a work day to commemorate that day, and we had to cancel because of all the weather. But I want to really appreciate all the volunteers that signed up to come out and help that day, and maybe we could do something in the future for that. I don't know if there's no plans for that at the moment, but hopefully we can get back together and do that again. So that's all I have.
All right. Steve?
Yes. I also like to thank the city employees. One thing that I work for the city. One thing that we have that's different today than was then. We have more employees. We don't have as much employees to work. The employees we do have, they're working 12, 13 hours, and we're doing the best we can with the employees that we have. So I too was out, and I think they did a great job. And there's more room for improvement. We just have to see what we can do. Also, I have to change my meeting from the 10th. February 10th to February 17th for the Southwest District. Come out there, take a look, and sit down and talk. It's on February 17th at 9 o'clock at the Zone. But other than that, that's all I got, sir. Thank you.
John?
I'm going to say a bad word, and that's potholes. So I want people to be ready that, with this type of weather, you will be seeing some potholes. If you spot them or any other issues, please go to the C-Click Fix portion of the city website so we can track the issues and track how they're being addressed. Yeah, that's all I have.
Stacy?
You guys all said everything I was going to say. I will touch on the C-Click Fix, though. You can make those complaints, if you will, either via the app or via the website, and you get immediate notification that it was received. You then get an update when it is acknowledged and kind of put on somebody's workload, it seems like. Then you get an acknowledgement when the work is completed. So I reported a couple of small potholes a couple weeks ago, and got my notification that that it looked to me that the email said that it was completed. So I drove over there and I was like, well, they're not. And so then I looked at the app again. So sometimes the email and the app don't jive. I was going to let you know that, Mary Grace. And I can show you that exact example. But after that, you can then drive by and see the work after they've said it's completed. So it's one more way for the citizens to not only let us know of an issue, but to then also hold us accountable. Because if, let's say that they fill a pothole, but then you're like, no, not that pothole, I'm at the one 20 feet away. Just a hypothetical. You then have the tool to come back and hold us accountable. So C-Click Fix is a great tool. I'm glad that we've invested in that, and I encourage everybody to use it. I just want to say my own thank you to all of the city workers who have braved the temperatures, the snow days, and the lack of childcare and all of the above in order to serve the city. And I think they've done a tremendous amount of work. To me, I've only ever coached Pee-wee sports, so like 4 years, 5 years and below, but I think I've learned a lot, which is, it's hard to bite your tongue and not give strong criticism while the work is being done. It's important to kind of hold off on that and then take a step back, and then, like John said, kind of have a level set and think about what can we do differently next time, because I don't want to tell somebody who just came off a 16-hour shift, hey, you missed a spot. I don't think that criticism goes over with anybody in any line of work. So I look forward to the city, the staff, the communication between us. All there are lessons to be learned. And I look forward to that work over the coming weeks as we prepare for, the next round of storms in the next weeks or hopefully year. Hopefully we have some respite. Two important things that I'd like to share. The first one is that January is National Blood Donation Month. There are a number of blood donations in town. I encourage people to find one that works for them and give. We are at a critical low level right now, so please find one that works for you and donate blood. The Youth City Council meeting was supposed to take place this evening, and they have rescheduled it at a date and time to be determined. So if you are watching those, please check their Facebook page for communication on that rescheduling. The second event is that Saturday from 10 to 2 at Walmart, there's a free health screening. It's a free health screening day, and so they have free screenings for glucose, cholesterol, BMI, blood pressure. They also are providing immunizations at low or no cost. So I wanted to make the community aware of that good event that's coming up. It was brought to my attention that the city may be eligible to apply for a quiet zone. I sent that email to Mary Grace. I don't know if we've ever applied for that in the past or where that application stands if we had. So I think that that's definitely something worth pursuing. I don't live anywhere near downtown, and I can hear the trains at my house. And it seems like with the lights and with the bars that maybe we don't need horns at midnight. But I think it's just one quality of life thing that we could look into. Hopefully we have somebody who can take that charge. And with that, I am through.
I think that we did talk about a quiet zone, and there was going to be significant expense adding pedestrian arms, and but that doesn't mean we can't further discuss it.
Yeah, I just got that email. We'll look into it.
My concern is we can't get some railroad crossings fixed or a railroad underpass painted I can't imagine how the railroad will respond to something like this, but it's worth asking. I would just like to say thank you to the city workers. I think that sometimes we are so focused on the street department and all of that, but we do have city workers out there in the water department that have to be outside of their truck working, digging in a hole, fixing water lines. And I was saddened the other day when I saw a big blue stick of water line on a trailer on a city truck going somewhere when it was 0 degrees out, and my heart sank for those folks. So thank you for the work that they do as well. It's important work. People want their water to work. With that, again, thank you to all the city workers. We are not trying to limit overtime during these emergencies or anything like that, so please don't think that. And we appreciate the work that the city employees have done, and we're continuing to try to staff up. We will continue to talk about those things and keep that in our forefront. With that, Mary Grace?
Yes, I will actually continue that message. The entire city worker team stepped up, whether not only just Department of Public Works, just to give some context. Some challenges that we hadn't anticipated was loss of power at some of our buildings, having to use generators where we had teams that had limited access to services. Had it not been for them preparing prior to, we could have been in a more critical situation. When these catastrophic is a strong word, but when these situations happen to a city, it is all hands on deck. It was street departments pushing people out of their offices onto the streets, the parks department cleaning the city building sidewalks to make sure we could still maintain the city hall offices open. It was an all hands on deck. We received calls from other agencies within the other state agencies and other work to have help to pull them out. I will commend, I've got notifications from people throughout the city that saw our city workers out of the truck, digging people out of cars, helping people in wheelchairs get access across streets. So above and beyond what was normally expected. Can we do better? Absolutely. The one thing I will tell you is when Wednesday hit, we were still trying to dig out from what had occurred, but our laser focus was what was coming. And the team got around the table to say, how do we make sure we don't have problems at the water treatment plants? How to make sure that we don't have freezing situations happen? So not only were we maintaining what had occurred, we were trying to focus on how do we maintain to keep the city functional. And I do commend all the work that all the people on the forefront, all the staff, and really strategizing. We had our 911 center involved in all this, because how do we handle calls with pipes going down and breaking? And how do we have police respond? We had police going out and saying, what are some of the secondary roads that we see, and as the police officers are out during the night, that we could communicate the next day to the public works. So it was a combined effort, not just from one focus. It's your department. It was a combined effort from a multitude of departments communicating. And we will continue that, to sit around a room to say, what did we learn from this? What steps and what processes and what things have we learned that we didn't expect that occurred when the power went out in the public works, that we needed to know? How do we protect different things? And I think overall, with anything, if you don't take a look back to see how you can improve, that's where you fail. I think that workers worked extremely long hours, and most of them, we had to force them to go home because they wanted to stay to continue to make sure the city was safe. And when their time for rest was over, they were back in doing the work and continuing to do the work. So I thank them, I commend them, and we will take the time to look back and see what we can learn to be better going forward. That's the first thing. The second thing I want to tell everyone is there are some legislative forums that have been set up that will be coming in the next months. It will be February 10th, March 9th, and April 20th, all on a Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Stringer Fine Arts. It's run by the chamber. I think it's so vital that people show up to these. They've invited the invitations have gone out to Senator Stephan, Representative Stewart, Representative Wagner, Representative Probst, Representative Murphy. Again, at the 9 o'clock on February 10th, March 9th, and April 20th. That happens at 9 o'clock at Stringer Fine Arts, and I encourage all the residents to go out and listen and ask questions. Last thing, I want to remind council that we have tomorrow's the last day to register for Legislator Day. For if you're interested in attending that, we need to communicate that so we can register for you. With that, again, I thank you for all the hard work, and we'll continue to move forward.
We do have 3 executive sessions that we need to get to. The usual question, executive session 1, how long does it need to be?
Yeah.
1 hour. Okay. I need a motion to recess into.
I'll move to recess into executive session pursuant to the employer-employee negotiations exception KSA 75-4319B3 in order to discuss issues related to 2025 contract negotiations with the city's bargaining units. The open meeting to resume in the city council chambers at 11 a.m.
I'll second that.
Richardson?
Yes.
Garza?
Yes.
Maggers?
Yes.
Goss?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.